Hi guys, it's me Charlie, and today I'll be doing a review on Proxima Midnight. Alright, the upcoming Spotlight card. Okay, so let me first say that this discussion is held on the premise that you already have Corvus Glaive, okay, and I also already have M.O.D.O.K. If you do not have them, please get them. These are very critical cards towards what I will be discussing. Okay, and also I have made a video about Corvus Glaive as a spotlight card as well. So before you view this video, please take a look at that video also. Okay, there's a very close correlation between the two. Alright, because we are looking at the same archetype. In fact, we'll be looking at building the same deck using these two weeks. Okay, the traditional discard deck. Alright, my goal for this week is to open for Proxima. I will be skipping Daken. I'll explain this later. Okay, so the idea of the deck that we are trying to build, right, is actually the traditional M.O.D.O.K discard deck. Alright, some people call it it used to be called dependable discard, some people call it M.O.D.O.K discard, some people call it Apocalypse discard. Okay, the idea of the deck is to win with a big Morbius, okay, a big Apocalypse that discard into Dracula, and having multiple swarms to flood the board on turn 6 while playing your turn 6 draw. Okay, so this used to be very reliable with Chavez guaranteeing you that you have a 9 power play on turn 6, okay, in addition to your big Apocalypse discarding into your Dracula, and of course your multiple 0 cost swarms. Okay, so let's say you have 3 swarms, alright, that's 9 power, you add Chavez, you have 18 power. Okay, that's as good as a HE Hawk. Okay, so it is a big swing, right? And Swarm also has a lot of other benefits, fringe benefits. For example, it could fill up Mojo World, it could block the void from flying over, it could stop goblins, okay, things like that. Okay, so yep, it is it can be very useful also. Okay, however, with the Chavez rework, this deck has become less consistent, and a lot of people have been writing it off. A lot of people have been saying that no, this deck is not consistent enough, you know, we are writing it off. Nonetheless, with Corvus and Proxima, I believe this deck is primed for a comeback. Okay, and the reason is, first of all, let's talk about Corvus first, since Corvus Glaive is already out, alright, and I've been playing with this deck already. Okay, Corvus allows us to discard more, right, and this snowballs our Morbius, our Apocalypse, and Swarm, which is obviously the goal of this deck. Okay, the one extra energy sometimes comes in handy, sometimes it doesn't. It honestly, most of the time, it depends on how our draws like. Okay, whether we can mix and match to utilize that one extra energy. Okay, but nonetheless, this deck, the deck that you are seeing on the screen right now, which I call Drop It, alright, has actually been very successful in Conquest. Alright, I actually have 3 videos, okay, on this deck doing Conquest run. One video we actually smoothly earn an infinity ticket. The other one we went from silver to gold very smoothly as well, and the third one is actually of a gold conquest run that we were winning. We were on battle 3, the last battle, okay, and we were winning. Alright, I think the opponent has 5 cubes left or 4 cubes left. Alright, we are winning, and we just managed to pull off a very exciting win. Alright, morale is on our side. Psychologically, we are holding the upper hand and everything, but I got disconnected. Okay, so that kind of sucks, right? But whatever the case it is, this deck has been performing very well, I would say, and not very well, but reasonably well, to the point I believe this is a solid B tier deck. Okay, so it is a solid B tier deck with Corvus, no Proxima. The reason why I believe Proxima can tip it over into a A tier, okay, is because into a bottom A tier, I would say it is still not because of the consistency issue, alright, but Proxima will still push it to A tier, I believe. The reason is very simple. Proxima grants a 0-7 when she's discarded, and 0-7 is a big swing. Let's take a look at some other cards that is near this kind of stats. Okay, we have stature 1-6. Alright, still need a 1 energy, 1 power lesser, and the condition to trigger stature is much harsher. You have to play Blackboard, which is a 5 cost. Okay, and Blackboard is a 5/7, so 5/7 is not exactly very overpowering or anything. Alright, and the effect, although on surface it disrupts, but it really doesn't, because it comes in a little bit too late. Alright, on that turn, typically you are just dropping their 1 cost, 2 cost, which they may not even want to play on turn 6. It may not even be critical. Alright, but of course this depends on the deck that you're facing as well. Okay, so Proxima will be replacing Black Cat. The reason is very simple. Compared to Black Cat, Proxima doesn't need a card to be played to bring her back onto the board. Okay, so obviously we are taking out Black Cat. Without Black Cat, Ghost Rider becomes not just a little redundant, actually becomes totally redundant. So we'll be taking out Ghost Rider as well, although the variant is very nice. I really like it. Alright, so here's the thing. While Daken is in the spotlight and seems like a very obvious plausible replacement, my issue here is that compared to discarding Swarm, he confers just a +1. Now this assumption is on the assumption that Colleen Wing is the card hitting it. Alright, so it's not exactly very critical because the difference is just a +1 overall. Okay, you can say board space as well, but we do not struggle with board space most of the time anyway, right? So the question here is, of course, you see, if we get Daken while trying to get Proxima, well, we use Daken, alright? But and hopefully we get Proxima on our first try, then the question is, do I want to spend the keys to get Daken? Alright, I believe Daken raises the ceiling of this deck, but the question is how much? And I don't think it's a lot. I really don't think it's by a lot. Okay, so this is for you to gauge. If you're a hardcore discard fan, go ahead. If you think that you have sufficient keys, go ahead. Alright, so this is a little bit of matter of preference. Alright, well, but based on my luck, I might just get it. I might just, the first card that I open may just be a Daken. Alright, so yep, this is just my take. Not exactly critical to get Daken. In fact, I actually think Silver Samurai, which I don't have also, alright, is actually better. It is our goal of discarding, okay, and it can actually be played to target Swarm, okay, while disrupting the opponent. Alright, and if we can play on turn 4, it's a it's a much more effective disruption. Okay, so I think Silver Samurai is actually the best replacement for Ghost Rider, but I also don't have it, right? Well, in the absence of Silver Samurai, and let's say we are not gunning for Daken also, I believe Gambit or Moon Knight can do the job as well. Okay, so Gambit has a very high potential upside. Imagine hitting their Hawks, okay, or cards with ongoing abilities like Iron Man or even Tribunal. Okay, it basically destroys their entire game plan. Okay, and of course there's a possibility of triggering Apocalypse once more. Okay, the only issue with Gambit is that if he's played on turn 6, we must bear in mind, you know, if we have something to discard for him and also into Dracula. Okay, Moon Knight is a little bit more straightforward. You simply play him to disrupt your opponent. That's it. Okay, and yeah, okay, speaking about Gambit, I just remembered something. I was speaking about Gambit, turn 6, Dracula, Apocalypse. So let me just jump back a little bit to Proxima again. Okay, I mentioned this in my previous video, but I also want to mention it here again. Okay, the so-called things that we have to manage a little bit more with Proxima is that she jumps to the location where you have the lowest power, and it is likely to be Dracula. Okay, so because most of the time our Dracula can solo a lane with a huge Apocalypse. Alright, so if let's say Proxima jumps to that lane, it becomes a question of, is it worthwhile to discard a huge Apocalypse into Dracula, okay, and win that lane by such a huge amount? Because if you win a lane, well, you win a lane. It doesn't matter you win it by 1, you win it by 10, or you win it by 20. Alright, so that is the little thing that we may have want to take note, we may want to take note of. If let's say Proxima indeed jumps to Dracula lane, what we need to be a little bit more flexible is on turn 6, we may be playing Apocalypse. We may be letting our turn 6 draw be the thing to discard into Dracula. This is something that we have to manage a little bit if let's say Proxima really jumps to Dracula. Okay, so this is just something that I want to give a heads up. Obviously, it's a case of managing what happens. There's also a possibility that you may want to prevent that scenario from happening. Alright, keep one lane open for Proxima to jump into. Alright, or potentially play something alongside Dracula. Alright, something small, but just sufficiently to make sure that that lane is still a little bit higher. Things like that could happen. Alright, I still haven't got a Proxima. These kind of possibilities we have to think on our feet. We have to assess the situation. There is no rule hard and fast rule about that. Okay, so I can't tell you what to do, what not to do. I'm just telling you of this possibility, this thing that could happen. Alright, so yeah, this is something that I just want to highlight. Alright, okay, so Gambit Moon Knight is a little more straightforward. You simply play him to disrupt your opponent. My preference is Gambit. Okay, so I believe this deck can make a comeback. Okay, we have a very solid deck here. Okay, and I have already proven that it can work, it works. Okay, with Proxima coming, this deck is going to be elevated. I believe it will make a comeback. People will take a different look at it. Alright, discard lovers, enjoy this deck.